All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our virtual town hall. And I want to thank you for joining this important event. And I'm convening this meeting to discuss a host of resources that are available to the citizens of Pasco County. I'm pleased to be joined by all of our panelists today, who I'll be introducing soon. And I thank all of them for taking the time to speak to Pasco County citizens. Your updates and insights on how government services are evolving during this pandemic is much appreciated. So following my brief discussion, you'll hear from the following speakers in this order. Summer Robertson, Deputy Chief of Staff to Representative Gus Bilirakis. She'll be speaking on the CARES Act, employees, small businesses, testing and supplies. Then we have Shara Lambert, Federal Affairs Director at the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, giving us updates from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. We have Pasco County School Superintendent Kurt Browning discussing closures, distance learning, and feeding sites. Pasco County Assistant County Administrator Kathy Pearson discussing senior, human, and veteran services. Dr. Whitney Elmore, Director of the Pasco UF IFAS Extension, will be discussing agriculture and COVID-19 issues, youth webinars, virtual clinic consultation, and licensing. Marcy Esberg will be joining us from the she's the Community Development Director. She'll be discussing the ESG funds for rental assistance, the 90-day deferral on mortgages, and CDBG funding. Next, we'll have Rosemary Bruckner, Transportation Program Manager with Pasco County Public Transportation, discussing fares, our safety and sanitation protocols, the CDC guidelines on transit. Next, Renee Brown, our Natural Resources Manager with Parks and Recreation, and Renee's going to talk about what's open and recreating under Governor DeSantis's executive order. And lastly, we'll have Adam Thomas, Pasco Tourism Director for Florida Sports Coast, and talking about the economic impact of COVID-19 on FSC and our hotel impacts. After that, we're going to take some Q&A. We're going to end this at 11:30, so we hope to still have time for some of these Q&As. So on the second slide here, we've advertised a few email accounts for questions, but now that we've started, I'll ask you to send any questions to my county address, kstarkey@pascocountyfl.net, and you can do that throughout the meeting, and we'll send a copy of the presenter's information and their contacts as well to those who request them after the meeting. Lastly, we wanted to introduce you to a new effort that is starting in the county, and you might have heard this on the news yesterday and today. I heard it as I was driving in today. There is a national effort called FLAG, or Frontline Appreciation Group, and we've started a chapter here in Pasco County called FLAG 2020 Pasco. We'll be raising money from the community, whoever would like to donate, and this money will go to hire local restaurants who will make meals for our frontline folks working in the ICU and the hospitals. You know, it brings a smile to our frontline workers, and it helps our local restaurants in these challenging times. So we're excited to get that going here in the county. It was started by two women up in the Northeast, and this morning they've already raised $97,000, and they've helped a bunch of restaurants and put a bunch of smiles on people's faces, so I'm excited to announce that this morning. We're in the process of setting up the electronic payments. We've got a bank account set up and a Facebook group to begin raising money. If you'd like to donate right now, that you have to Venmo me. That will change it's at Kathryn-Starkey, and our Facebook group name is called FLAG 2020 Pasco County, or Frontline Appreciation Group Pasco County. So more information on that will be coming out in my newsletter and during the next week. So with that, I am very excited to turn the event over to Summer Robertson. Good morning, Summer.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you so much for the invitation to participate. This morning, I'd like to share a little bit of information with the group. The CARES Act was signed into law last Friday, and that act provided unprecedented support to individuals, to small businesses, and to critical infrastructure throughout the country. In terms of individual assistance, the bill provides up to $1,200 stimulus checks per individual, $2,400 for those who filed married jointly. Those checks will be delivered mid-April to anyone who filed a 2019 or 2018 tax return that meets the income criteria. It does begin to get phased out as you exceed $75,000 for individuals, $112,000 for head of household, and $150,000 for married individuals. We've received several calls from seniors who are on Social Security. They do not have to do anything. They are eligible to participate even if they did not file a tax return in the 2019 or 2018 year. The same goes for individuals who are on Social Security disability and for those who are veterans who are receiving disability. The Department of Treasury has worked directly with those agencies and will be providing those checks as well. And Secretary Mnuchin has said that those checks will be distributed mid-April. The only individuals who will need to go and actively do something in order to receive the benefits to which they're entitled under the individual stimulus are individuals who did not file a tax return because they made less than the amount of dollars that you have to make in order to file a tax return, and they are not participating in one of those three programs I just mentioned. There will be an online portal created by the Department of Treasury within the next 2 weeks. That online portal is not yet available. When it does become available, we will certainly share that information. The same goes for if you did file a 2018 or 2019 tax return, but you need to update your bank account information because the banking information you used on those returns is no longer accurate. If you need to do that, you will be able to use the Department of Treasury's online portal as well. The CARES Act also expanded unemployment benefits for Americans. We know that a lot of people are out of work during this time. And we also know that there have been significant issues with the unemployment website in the last few weeks. We talked to state officials yesterday who told us that they've had more people apply in the last week and a half for unemployment benefits in the state of Florida than have ever applied for the program since its inception. So they are struggling to manage that. Please remember that the unemployment system is a federal-state partnership. The federal government provides the resources and the state operates that program, it does administer that program. We have spoken to state officials. They have hired this week alone over 100 employees to help manage that program. The governor did issue an executive order last night in order to provide additional staff from other state agencies to help administer the program. And he has expanded and will be allowing the use of paper products, the paper application very soon. And again, we will be sharing that information on the Congressman's website as soon as it becomes available to those in the state of Florida. The expansion of benefits does include new groups of people who have never been available before or eligible before to participate in unemployment. This includes people who are independent contractors, sole proprietors, as well as those who are working fewer hours due to the coronavirus, but they are still working. Traditionally, those people have been excluded from participating in unemployment, but they can now participate. We are told that once an application has been received by the state of Florida and approved for unemployment, that those benefits will be retroactive. So even if you, because of the website capabilities, even if you were not able to get your application through, when it does get through and it is approved, you will be provided with the back pay for that unemployment for which you're eligible. The federal government through CARES has extended. Traditionally, unemployment has a 1 week waiting period. The federal government has waived that one week waiting period. We've also done a lot through the first three stimulus bills to provide additional food for especially vulnerable populations, including seniors, our children, and food banks. And additionally, this week, Pasco County received over $2 million in CDBG funds and ESG funds, which will be distributed by the county and the local homeless coalition in order to try to provide basic assistance. The CARES Act also provided significant help for small businesses. We know that they employ most Americans, and so we have the traditional EIDL loans, which are SBA loans. They're quite a cumbersome process. Those are available now immediately for business owners. However, the application process takes several weeks to go through. Those who apply for the EIDL loans are eligible for a $10,000 advance on the funds that they're trying to borrow. And the other type of loan, which is a newly created program, which actually goes online today, you apply directly through your own lender. It is 100% guaranteed by the SBA, but it's a much more streamlined process. Those loans up to $10 million are available to small businesses, including sole proprietors, which have traditionally not been allowed to participate in the SBA loans. So you apply directly through your bank, and the goal is to have those funds administered within a week of the application being received from your own individual bank. The PPL loans are also eligible for forgiveness if they are used to continue to pay salaries for employees, and they're used for other operating costs such as your rent and utilities. 75% of what is forgiven must be spent on salaries. You can have an EIDL loan and a PPL loan at the same time, but you cannot use them for the same purpose. Additionally, you can transfer, if you have an EIDL loan, you can transfer that to a PPL loan. Essential services, many people have called our office asking about essential services. That is not a federal designation. The federal government put out some guidance, but the state governor has issued his own list of what qualifies as an essential service. We've had several businesses that have asked us how do they get their business to become an essential service if they're not currently designated as an essential service. That process has not yet been established by the state. We are collecting those requests and we are sending them to the governor's office for consideration. We have been helping local businesses who wish to work with the federal government to receive an approval in order to begin manufacturing and producing supplies that are critically needed. You can contact our office to help expedite your application to the federal government for that. I would first suggest that you look on our website and you go to, there's a link for FEMA, the FEMA Help website, and it's also on the slideshow that you're able to see here. You can take a look at that, and that gives you some critical instructions about what has to be done before you can begin selling your product to the federal government for distribution. We do have a shortage of supplies. There's an increased international demand for critical supplies. We are standing up and we have taken action at the federal level to increase the production by private business in those areas. And that will help as we reach, we're seeing more and more being ramped up every day. And as we reach what's predicted to be the peak of this in mid-May, we do anticipate that we will have additional supplies being distributed. There is a national stockpile of supplies which have been begun to be released to states. The state has a state stockpile, and each individual emergency management office can request funds from the state stockpile. I will tell you that those supplies are being distributed by the state to the entities and to the communities in the state of Florida that have the largest number of cases. We as a federal delegation and as a state delegation have been working closely with our providers, our hospitals, our community health centers, our health departments, in order to make sure that they have the supplies that they need. And we had a conference call yesterday, a teletown hall meeting with Pasco County officials who say that they feel good about where we are right now. Their supplies are tight, but they are getting them where they are most needed. And they currently are able to comply with CDC guidelines for testing. We are beginning to test more and more people. There's a tiered testing system. Initially, the only people who were eligible to receive testing were those who met the strict CDC criteria related to having previously traveled to an area that was known to have community spread and having symptoms, or coming into contact with someone who was a positive case and having symptoms. There is now a tiered system where more people are eligible and are able to be prioritized, including frontline workers, hospital workers, seniors, and those with severe underlying health conditions, as well as those who are currently hospitalized for respiratory problems. So the local health officials reported yesterday on our call that they do believe they're moving forward and that they will have the supplies they need, especially as private production continues to ramp up each and every day. Our website will be updated. The Congressman's website will be updated daily with information as it becomes available. This is a very fluid situation, and so information is changing. What you can do in the interim to keep yourself and your family safe is to stay home, use good hand hygiene, and please continue practicing social distancing so that we can all help to flatten the curve. And thank you very much.
Summer, that was a great update, and again, it's going to be on YouTube, so people can go back and look at it at any time and see your list of resources and listen to your really good discussion. Next, we're going to have Shara Lambert, our Federal Affairs Director at the Florida Department of Ag and Consumer Services. Shara, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are you able to hear me?
We hear you great. I'm going to go on mute now.
Okay, thank you all and good morning. On behalf of Commissioner Nicole Nikki Freed, our 12th Agriculture Commissioner for the Florida Department of Ag and Consumer Services, along with the over 4,000 state employees right now at the department, we really appreciate Commissioner Starkey for having this virtual town hall here in Pasco County. The Commissioner really would love to reiterate that we are all sharing the growing concern over the coronavirus. We are definitely in this together, and please be assured that we're doing all we can to keep you safe during these challenging times. We just wanted to take a moment to share some steps that the department is taking to minimize the threat of COVID-19 for consumers and also businesses, along with keeping Florida's children fed during school closures. Here at the Department of Agriculture, the Commissioner regulates close to 40,000 grocery stores, markets, convenience stores, gas stations, and we have sent guidance directly to them on best practices to reduce spread of viruses, to include providing sanitary wipes to clean keypad nozzle handles at the gas pumps and shopping carts or basket handles at the grocery stores, two places that we know are still essential and available today, even during the state shutdown, with two places millions to go to each day. Also, we want to remind the businesses that all employees must comply with state rules of hand washing before, after, and preparing food, handling raw food, touching garbage, etc. This goes for you as consumers too. Please disinfect commonly used surfaces, cook foods to recommended temperature, regularly wash your hands or sanitize them. As we all know, and we will hear from the school board, with our schools being closed, many children are missing out on school meals. For so many kids, their only meals that they can regularly count on have been through our school system. Here at the Department of Agriculture, through pass-through dollars from the federal government, banking Congressman Bilirakis and the Florida delegation, our agency funds close to $1.3 billion worth of school lunch programs, serving close to 245 million free and reduced luncheons to 2 million children, ensuring that they continue to have their meals available. We actually activated a couple of weeks ago the Summer Break Spot website, call center, and text line to help the families find free meals for children during COVID-19 school closures. I think there should be a pop-up that I sent over to the commissioner, but to find your closest location, you are to text FL Kids Meals. That's FL Kids Meals to 211-211, or you can call 211 to speak with a live operator 24 hours a day. Please note as well that those operators can also handle bilingual calls in Spanish. I believe they're working on Creole. The piece about this summer break spot is usually is for those children that qualify for free and reduced lunch. But right now, the crises that we're dealing, this is for all children 18 and under, regardless of their previous eligibility. The other location that you can go to find the closest location is Summer Break Spot, all one word, .freshfromflorida.com. The other piece that also Congressman Bilirakis' office mentioned, and as we know here in Pasco, one of the deepest things that we really protect and serve here in this county through Commissioner Starkey and the Board of County Commissioners and you all, the constituents, is that of our seniors. So the commissioner has worked to have 1 million worth of low sodium emergency meals for seniors for community group distributions. She's also been talking to our retailers such as Publix, And she's going to assure you, and she wants to implore not just federally, but also statewide and locally, that the food supply chain is steady. There is no need to hoard food. It makes it harder for the elderly and the compromised to be able to obtain those foods. So without having to close down the schools and to know that the food supply chain is accurate, it's flowing, it's working succinctly, you do not need to hoard food. The other thing that we want to emphasize that we just need to make sure that the community knows is that the food is safe. Per our federal partners through FDA, there is no evidence that COVID-19 transmits in foods. However, as we always know, just as basic consumers, we are to constantly wash our fruits and vegetables, and we've sent guidelines out and they're on our website on the best way to keep your food safe. So from Pasco County and beyond, we are really in this together. We are here for you every step of the way. All of our employees here, inspection, interdiction stations to going out to our farms, we are available. Please, if you need more information, follow our updates on Facebook or Twitter at FDAX or online at fdacs.gov, fdacs.gov. Thank you again for your leadership, and I can speak more on the farmers issue, Commissioner, but I know that this was very important to all of your constituents.
Thank you, Sharon. I know we have a question already in for you, so we'll get to you at the end on a question about horses. And now I'm going to turn to our Superintendent, Kurt Browning.
Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. Let me just tell you that the last 2.5 weeks, now 3 weeks, anything short of different would be an understatement. It has really turned the school district on its heels. But just a huge shout out to district staff that have just rallied around trying to set up processes and procedures to continue to meet the needs of our students and our families. And that includes our teachers that are teaching today from home. And we are, quite honestly, one of the few, a state in the nation that wanted education to continue during this situation. I want to address just a couple of points this morning. It's already been addressed by our two previous speakers in some part, and that is the feeding. The feeding piece, we had to implement our summer feeding program very quickly. I want to thank the Department of Agriculture, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services for working with school districts and waiving some of the requirements that we often have to meet in order to comply with this program, because it is important to us that we get the opportunity to get food in the hands of our kids. Last week, which was our first week of feeding, we fed or served over 30,302 meals. This week, we went to a single day. That was last week. It was 5 days a week. We were delivering dropping off through drive-throughs at 7 sites, 2 meals, a breakfast and a lunch. Now what we've done is we've moved our model to once a week on Tuesdays at about 26 sites throughout the district. And this past Tuesday, we delivered lunch and breakfast for each child for the full 5 days. And we served, at that point, 80,680 meals just this week. So that's been a total of 110,982 meals over the last 2 weeks. We continue to try to meet the needs of those kids 18 and under that are food insecure, and we're wanting to make sure that the word gets out to our families that resource is available. The other thing that we've had to do very quickly on the fly is distribute many of the computer devices that's owned by the district so that distance learning can continue to take place. We have currently, the last number I heard, we've distributed over 15,000 devices to our children, to our students. And we continue to distribute those devices as needs are given to us. I want to thank school-based staff for coming up with a plan that was smooth and efficient and was able to get those devices out in a timely manner to those students. With that, the distance learning piece. The distance learning piece, Pasco has been a leader in distance learning through Pasco eSchool. I believe that under Florida virtual education, there were two districts, Broward and Pasco, were the two largest ones that provide that. So the distance learning wasn't really new to Pasco district, but it was new to many of our teachers and many of our students, those that are typically teach in what we call bricks and mortar schools. A tip of the hat, a round of applause to our teachers and our administrators for really stepping up, digging in, and figuring out how this works. Our staff at Pasco eSchool really did a great job with the training of these teachers in a very short period, as well as providing technical assistance through our data processing services, information services, so that parents, if they need help, you can see on the screen the tech help email as well as the telephone number. We are continuing to get those devices out there. We had hit a peak of about 37,000 students at one time, and it is just like, it's not like where they're necessary where a teacher's going to have kids in front of them at a certain time. Kids get on, they do their work, they communicate through their teacher, and it can be at 10 o'clock at night. It is just a different model, but I am so proud of where we are. We are really trying to minimize the achievement gap and the opportunity gap that we have in this county with our students, and we want to make sure that they are as prepared as they possibly can be, so when we go into school in August, that we will be there. And they will be there and be almost, if not caught up to where they would be if we were still in a normal operating system. One last thing I want to mention is the executive order that was signed by the governor this week about the stay-at-home. This has a huge impact on the school district and in two ways, where it talked about 65 years and older needing to stay home, and then a different class of people, which were those that had underlying health issues. The district is dramatically impacted by those two groups of people. We have a lot of folks in our district that are over 65. Many of our employees are over 65 years of age, and many of those folks work in food and nutrition services. Many of those folks work in transportation that help deliver some of those meals. So we are working tirelessly trying to ensure we did an all call to all 10,000 district staff, saying that if you can help, we need your assistance in preparing these meals. These meals do not come prepared necessarily. We package these meals and then package them again as breakfasts or lunches. And so we are really, this executive order has really impacted our operations. Why do I say this? Well, it's also closed our schools. I've closed our schools. We are kind of using Tuesday as the day that if you need to pick up a device from the school, that is the day that you'll pick up a device from the school. If you need to transact business with a school that is what I would call essential business, I need you to call the school. It's called the school number. We've asked principals to forward those phones to their devices, their phones, so that we can get the calls answered. If it goes to voicemail, this brings my major point, and that is please be patient. Please be patient as we go back in and try to address all these different questions and concerns. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. One is the executive order. The other one is a horrific virus that's out there needing to keep our employees safe. And so we are trying to support our students and our families while trying to do that at the same time. So I would ask that parents be patient with us as we try to navigate this, really, as we've reduced our work down to one day. We're all working from home on the other days, including Saturdays and Sundays, but the public interface day will be Tuesday. If you need a device, call the school. If you don't reach somebody, leave a message. We will follow up with you. We will get a device in your hand, and we'll work through internet connectivity issues. Also, I wanted to mention that for those families that need meals, On our website, pascoschools.org, there is a coronavirus banner on there. You click on that, and you will come to a page with all kinds of information. One says feeding students. At the bottom of that form, there's a form about complete a meal request form. The first day we did this, we had 3,500 requests and we served 8,000 meals. We were not prepared. We were not ready because we were only filling the requests that we had plus a little bit over that. So if you needed to request a meal, please complete that meal request form. And with that, we're continuing to take questions, addressing concerns as they come up. Our school principals are doing a great job, the school staff, the teachers, all employees across this district, because we want to make sure that our kids continue to learn and be engaged in that learning. And I want to thank the Commissioner for the opportunity to have this webinar to get this information back out to our residents. So thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I'm very grateful that you're here, and I know I'm hearing from lots of our residents that say we need more communication from the county, and everyone's concerned. It's such an unusual time. I know when I talk to my fellow workers in government that we have never been busier. I cannot keep my phone charged. It's just a really interesting time, and I appreciate everyone stepping up here today. Next, we're going to turn to Kathy Pearson.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Commissioner Starkey, for this great town hall. But I want to put a shout out first to all the team of Pasco County, Board of County Commissioners. I'll tell you, the team has been rocking between the PI, the Public Information Office, the Emergency Management, the buses, the guys out in the stormwater. So thank you all, our home-delivered meal drivers, our senior care folks. Thank you. I want to talk about a little bit today is about our community services programs. And as you know, we do home-delivered meals for our seniors that are 60 and over. And we also have congregate dining sites. Well, the home-delivered meal program is still going, but we had to close our congregate dining sites due to this horrible coronavirus. So what are we doing instead? We're having our seniors come through a drive-through. So that has been happening right now for all of our seniors that are registered with our programs, 60 and over. We're doing about 700 to 1,000 meals a day. So thank you all so very much. But we have a new program that's going to be happening here in probably about the next week. Thank you to Congressman Gus Bilirakis on getting our Older Americans Act funding increased. So with that, it comes through the Department of Elder Affairs, through the state, through our AAA Area Agency of Aging with panelists in Pasco. And we're going to be starting a program called Emergency Meals Restaurants. And so as Commissioner Starkey had talked about the frontline appreciation, we are also going to be having our restaurants prepare food for our seniors. We're still in the working process of that right now. We just got our allocation dollars. We're working on agreements. So for those restaurants that are out there that are interested, you will be able to register with the Area Agency of Pinellas Pasco. They will vet the restaurants. They will make sure all the requirements are there. And then we will be starting this program very, very soon. So very exciting. With that, though, we are going to be needing more drivers. So I want to shout out to Withlacoochee Electric, who has taken some of our delivery routes and is out there with their teams delivering our routes for us. So I want to say thank you to that. So be looking for that, and for anybody that's eligible or wants more information or wants to become registered with our programs, you do need to call the Pasco County Senior Services Dining Site line, which is 727-834-3340. So that is some of the things that are going to be happening there. So the 700,000 meals, we're going to be trying to take off about 400 people we have on our waiting list. So with that extra funding, we're going to be able to take a lot of folks. We're going to need more help and more deliveries, so that's going to be awesome. I do want to shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays, who also donated $5,000 to our Meals on Wheels program, so we're very, very happy about that. And our human services and our veteran services, they're focusing on preventing homelessness via evictions. Their phone numbers are up on the screen for those. Our veteran services continue to work virtually with our veterans for any of their benefits that they need. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions as they come through also. But thank you to the team out there. We really appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you, Kathy. I want to remind you, if you have any questions, it's kstarkey@pascocountyfl.net. And I did want to mention that the county is pushing out information all day long, but you need to sign up for it. So we have a section called Notify Me, and if you go there on our county website, I hope that's the right, Notify Me. You type in your email address, and you will get all of our notifications that we're pushing out. And I think it's a really important thing to do at this time. So I actually have friends who are very involved in our government and are not signed up on this. So they learned that yesterday when I asked if they got the notification for this event. Okay, so next we're going to have Dr. Whitney Elmore.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Starkey, for holding this town hall and allowing us to be involved. And I also just want to send a shout out to my colleagues at the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences and Pasco County. I mean, in these unprecedented times, I think we are all pulling together and doing a fantastic job. And to the folks that are on here, also speaking from other organizations, just a heartfelt thank you from Pasco Extension Office on being so responsive, working with us to help answer questions with our constituents throughout the county. So we are continuing to work with producers, with ranchers in agriculture all across Pasco County. This is somewhere around a $75 million a year industry in Pasco, so it is critical from an economic standpoint. We are working with those folks because they have been deemed essential infrastructure industry and workers. We are fielding calls from anywhere from horse owners and cattle ranchers all the way over to nursery owners, plant nurseries, and workers and everybody in between. We are continuing our consultations with them and with anybody throughout our community. We are seeing a disaster unfold. It's a different kind of disaster than what anybody's used to, but it is a disaster in its own right. And so we are there to continue answering the typical questions that we get from home gardening all the way over to pest control around the homeowners, and then those commercial entities. But certainly our agricultural entities are being impacted. And so we are there for them and working closely with our colleagues across the state and with our friends in the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So you just heard from Ms. Lambert a few minutes ago about some of those programs that they've instituted from the Ag Commissioner's Office, and we work very, very closely. I know Shar and I have been on the phone with each other several times, almost every day here lately, exchanging information. So we appreciate the opportunity to work closely with them. We are continuing to work with the public by offering, we've already set up within the first week of this situation unfolding, at least 15 live webinars or on-demand programs from an educational standpoint. And those are being centered around issues that are starting to spring up, anywhere from food safety to budgeting, all the way to how to vaccinate your horse, and working within community gardens and staying safe, everything in between. With our 4-H youth, this is our side of things on the informal education, and we just heard from Kurt Browning about the formal side of education and how Pasco County School District is doing an excellent job of keeping those kids fed and educated. Our job is to help engage on the backside in an informal sense. So we are working very closely with those 4-H youth all across the county to provide educational opportunities and also keep them active and engaged and doing so safely. We are also responding pretty much daily to demands and requests coming from the public into our offices. We are working with constituents on social media We have set up a virtual plant clinic that will go live on Monday, being staffed by extension agents and other parts of our team, as well as Master Gardener volunteers that are all continuing to even work from home to help with all sorts of issues that homeowners and even some of our commercial entities are facing at this time. So our consultation abilities to bring fact-based information are still very much in play, and we welcome the opportunity to work with the public. Our one shop in Dade City that's located in Tommytown, we have very close partnerships there, folks with Sunrise Domestic Services, Pasco Economic Development Council. We're working very closely with them to continue any of those operations that they've been operating out of our one-stop shop so that we continue to serve the citizens of the community. Our community gardens that are spread out across our county are still open. Those are deemed essential because those are providing food. We do have more in development, and my program assistants are continuing their work at developing those community gardens. We're finding more and more people that are turning to community gardens for a source of fresh produce. This is adding a sense of security and also helping them to stay engaged without socially distancing. We won't be physically distancing per CDC guidelines, but also being socially engaged, which is helping the mental health aspect. So I do want to reiterate what Ms. Lambert said earlier about produce either coming out of community gardens, certainly coming from our commercial producers across Pasco County and the rest of Florida as being safe. It's all about using those very basic food processing techniques that we should all be practicing at home, even in normal, typical times of washing our produce and preparing it safely. If anybody from the public has questions about this, they're welcome to call us. We do have a family consumer science agent that works very closely in food safety, and of course, several of us that work in horticulture in a commercial standpoint. We are very lucky to be partnered closely with FDACS. We've been working statewide through the University of Florida and FDACS to continuing offering pesticides and green industry best management practices trainings online and continuing to offer those fertilizer licenses and pesticide licenses and continuing education units to ensure folks stay employed within the green industry. We know from the executive order that these folks are still deemed essential. And so FDACS has granted some extensions on those pesticide licenses to ensure folks are continuing to work and doing so safely. Another thing that we are, I'm working with Char Lambert on is the development of a webinar, hopefully very soon, with the Department of Economic Opportunity and the Small Business Association to help, especially our agriculture industries and cottage industries, navigate the loan application processes for the bridge loans and also for the Small Business Association disaster loans. We understand that there are a lot of nuances to each of those, and we're still working closely with those associations to deem who's eligible and how best to help them work through those applications. So University of Florida, through our website that you see here online, is pumping out information constantly about how to stay safe with COVID-19 updates, lots of safety information, and we will continue to work with Pasco County government, all of our different departments, as well as our statewide colleagues and Department of Agriculture to continue offering services and being there for extension agents. We are your extension agent. We are here to help in any way possible with fact-based, research-based information from the university. And again, thank you, Commissioner Starkey, for allowing me to have a few moments, but also to our team across this county and definitely our frontline workers working in food services, agriculture, healthcare, folks, first responders for doing what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Whitney. That was wonderful. Now we're going to turn to Marcy, who has very important information for our constituents. Good morning, Marcy. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Commissioner, and thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this very important town hall meeting and to get this information out to the citizens of Pasco County. I echo what all the panelists have said. These are unprecedented times, and when government has to turn on the dime to make sure they're serving the citizens in a safe and well manner, and make sure that we get information out. It has been just an honor to work with my colleagues and all the people in Pasco County, because we really are working over and above to deliver excellent information and services. So community development is here to work with the citizens of Pasco County, specifically in initiatives including homelessness, affordable housing, neighborhood revitalization, and community partnerships. And so one of the key areas that we work in is helping low and moderate income households to become homeowners, because we've all learned over the years that home ownership is one of the key factors in stabilizing our community and building wealth. So we have over 1,400 people in our community that are in the process that have bought homes or that have had homes renovated. So they are part of our owner-occupied households that we have assisted, and they are in the process of paying mortgages back to the county. So the very first thing that we have done is we're offering a 90-day deferral of payments to these mortgages to the clientele that we've served. And on your screen now is the link where you could fill out that deferral request, because we know that so many in our community, especially those of low and moderate income, have been hit very hard through the COVID-19 and have lost their income. So we are going through June 30th in a deferral of payments for those active loans. In addition, we're, Commissioner, several people have mentioned the Emergency Solutions Grant. Well, we do have money available from previous years. And so as of, I believe it'll be April 21st, 22nd, somewhere towards the end of April, we are working to deliver short-term rental assistance with the Emergency Solutions Grant. So this is really to prevent homelessness. So if you are housed now and you are renting, we want to make sure that that's where you stay and you stay safe where you're living. So these funds will be available through one of our community partners, and that's the Coalition for the Homeless of Pasco County. And it's going to be for people who earn less than 30% or below the median income. And don't be discouraged when you see the chart with the numbers below. And so it's divided by your household size, because if you've lost your job, then you've lost your income. So we will be working with the coalition to get, probably over $70,000 out to the community to help people pay their rent during this time. Next, we have additional funding coming through the CARES Act, and this was mentioned a little bit earlier. The county has been awarded for the Community Development Block Grant over and above the money that we usually get as an entitlement community, $1.7 million. And again, this Emergency Solutions Grant, where we normally get $200,000, we're getting an additional $834,000. And my understanding is this is just the first round, that there might be another one or two rounds of these funds coming through. We're not quite sure how this is going to be rolled out and how it's going to be used, but rest assured, we have our teams working with national associations and with our HUD regional offices to get the information as quickly as possible and to apply for whatever waivers or things that we need to do in order to work with our community partners and get this money out to the people who need it. One of the things that you will see coming through this office that we have not done before is probably some more economic development, working especially with our small businesses, our micro enterprises. They're going to be, and they have been already, particularly hard hit during this time. So we'll be working to see how we can deploy some of these funds to the businesses that would need it so that when it comes time to reopen, they will have the wherewithal to open. And then lastly, we've talked a lot about home ownership and rentals and people staying safe in their homes. But we do have people in our community, our homeless neighbors, who is sheltering in place for them is in a tent or out in the woods. And we're very concerned that they have lost many of the resources that they would never usually use for their everyday hygiene, whether it's going to the bathroom at Burger King or McDonald's, or taking showers at some of the places that have offered showers. All those things have been closed due to safety reasons. And so we are in the process now of working with some community partners to establish comfort stations, certainly up and down 19, but perhaps also in other parts of the county. And we'll be trying to deploy portable bathrooms and hand sanitizing and washing statements for our homeless neighbors to make sure that while we're asking everybody to shelter in place and to stay safe at home, that even our homeless neighbors will have the access to the amenities of health and hygiene that those of us who are housed, whether we're owning or renting, have as well. So together we're working and using these resources to deploy to all of the citizens and those that need it in Pasco County. And although our office is running at a limited capacity, everybody is here to answer phone calls, whether it be remotely or emails. And please feel free to contact us if there is other information or services that we could give you. Thank you.
That was great, Marcy. Thank you. And I can see we have so much information that run over 11:30. So I'm going to ask all my speakers, if you have to leave right away, get that information to Danny, because we have some really great questions, and I will throw those to you first. Next, we have Rosemarie from our transportation, public transportation. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us here. Pasco County wanted to give an update on what we're doing for the coronavirus and what we have established. On March 19th, we went to free fares. We understood that many people were facing financial hardship as a result of the coronavirus, many losing their jobs and or being laid off due to social distancing and closing of facilities. We also limited the number of riders on each bus, and we were asking customers that could enter through the back door when possible. With wanting to stay with the order of social distancing, our busier routes such as US 19, we wanted to add more buses to that route to encourage social distancing and more frequent availability. We temporarily suspended our yet less utilized routes and increased buses on US 19 and other corridors like 54 and 301. So we could have less bus riders on each bus and continue to have a good flow of traffic. We increased our daily sanitizing of each bus. We do clean our buses nightly. However, since this virus, we are using antivirus killing disinfectant We have hired several temporary staff to assist with disinfecting all buses every night. We are also disinfecting and spraying our shelters as often as we can. We've also created a dispatch line for information. It's option 3 on our phone. People can call with information on fixed service route changes or any other questions regarding changes in the near future. At this time, we feel the steps that we have taken have worked, and we do not foresee at this time making any other changes to routes. We feel that people need to utilize our services, especially on 19 and some of the busiest routes, to get to places that are essential, such as people working at Publix, health in the food industry, and of course, healthcare.
All right, thank you. That is a great update on what with our public transportation. I'm now going to move to Renee Brown, our Natural Resources Manager with Parks and Recreation. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources. So we are reviewing possible recreational offerings in accordance with Executive Order 2091, particularly Section 3. States that participating in recreational activities is an essential activity, provided they are consistent with social distancing guidelines. That a social gathering in a public space is not an essential activity, and that local jurisdictions shall ensure that groups of people greater than 10 are not permitted in any public space. Next slide, please.
There you go.
So to ensure, thank you, to ensure that we are following the direction provided by the executive order, we have closed parks and preserves when people congregating in groups of 10 or more could not be reasonably enforced. So we had some parks that were open that had to be closed because of this, and the followed that as well. And even after the executive order, state parks remain closed. So our county are all day use areas, all playground recreational complexes, all sports fields, all public swimming pools and public beaches, and all pavilions. Boat ramps that provide access to the Gulf of Mexico and 2 freshwater lakes, and trails. And I'll provide more information on those in just a minute. So our general recommendations for recreation, of course, to the recommendations of social distancing by maintaining that 6-foot distance and by avoiding gatherings of 10 or more. Avoid areas. If you arrive at a space and it is crowded and you cannot enjoy it safely, please return home or find a less crowded area, and you may return at a less crowded time. If you're sick or if you've been exposed to someone who is sick. And just a reminder, your own neighborhood may be the safest place to exercise outdoors right now, because you don't get there and you can easily keep your distance. Depending on the circumstances, you may be able to walk, jog, and bike your neighborhood streets. So just in case those areas are being overlooked. And as nice as it might be to gather neighborhood friends for an outdoor workout, now is a better time to work out alone and work out with others in your household. But please, social distancing guidelines at all times. We also request that people be kind and patient with park employees, as everyone is doing their best to keep boat ramps and these select trails open for recreation. Sometimes staff are dealing with kind of the brunt of frustration, we understand, but they're on the front lines too. And so we ask for kindness and patience as we try to keep these areas open while adhering to the CDC guidelines and the executive order. So some specifics: boat ramps are open at Anclote River Park and Strickland Memorial Park. These provide boat access to the Gulf of Mexico. We also have Moon Lake Boat Ramp, which is a freshwater lake in Newport Richey, and Middle Lake, which is on the east side. The address is Dade City. It's really sort of northwest of Dade City itself. That provides access to a lake on the east side. And just this reopened Eagle Point Park for canoe and kayak access to the Gulf of Mexico. So please keep in mind that these parks remain closed. We've just opened the boat ramps. So when their bathrooms are closed and the other park amenities are closed, but the boat ramps are open. So some specific guidance at boat ramps: please plan to efficiently load and unload your boat at the ramps so we can minimize exposure and keep things flowing efficiently. Please adhere to the CDC guidelines at all times and maintain that 6-foot distance and avoid gathering in groups of 10 or more. Please wait in your vehicles until it's your turn to unload your boat so we can avoid people gathering. And please do not congregate in parking lots or at pavilions. These are really for boat trailer and boat ramp use only and not for a public gathering space. The bathroom is there, so please plan accordingly. And when leaving the boat ramp area, please be cautious and patient to accommodate incoming traffic that may be using the same roads, as some other park roads may be closed. Additionally, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has issued some boating guidelines. Recreational vessel occupancy is limited to no more than 10 persons per vessel, and a minimum of 50 feet between recreational vessels and any other vessel shall be maintained. But this distance does not apply to permitted mooring fields, marinas, or other permanently installed wet slips, and does not apply to vessels underway, so you can certainly pass other vessels, but don't tie, raft, or moor your vessel to another vessel. For trails, the Suncoast Trail is open. It is a paved multi-use trail suitable for such uses as biking, walking, and rollerblading. It is 42 miles in length across 3 counties, and 22 miles of that is in Pasco County. So that is a main trail that's open. There also may be some local trails in your area, including the Starkey Boulevard Trail, which is open, and the Starkey Gap Trail. And this connects Starkey Boulevard Trail to the Pinellas Trail. And I checked this morning, the Pinellas Trail as of this morning was still open. So for the Suncoast Trail, please remember it is a multi-use trail for everyone's use. Please be courteous to users, including people less familiar with the trail. We may have people out there that haven't used the trail before or are less familiar with it and so on. So please be courteous to those other users. Bikers follow posted speed limits, and in heavy use areas, please slow down. You don't want anyone hurt in this time. For your safety and health, please avoid biking in packs. Please also note that the water stations are not available, so plan ahead and bring your own water. Trails generally, of course, please adhere to the guidelines and maintain that 6-foot distance between people outside of your families and avoid gathering in groups. Do not congregate in the parking lots or pavilions, and please be courteous to other users. And if a trail is actually busy, again, please find a less crowded section of the trail or return at a time when it's less crowded. Please also avoid parking illegally. This graphic is from the National Recreation and Park Association. It has some useful reminders. Do not use parks or trails if you're exhibiting symptoms. Follow the CDC's guidelines on personal hygiene prior to visiting parks or trails. Be prepared for access to public restrooms or water fountains. Share the trail and warn other users of your presence. And as you pass, it's probably a good thumb to assume users have less experience than you do. So please keep that in mind as you're using the trail. And then, of course, always observe the minimum recommended physical distance of 6 feet from other people at times. So what's next? After reviewing the governor's executive stay-at-home order, considering other recreational opportunities where social distancing can effectively be enforced, and we will inform the public as soon as possible to provide updates or clarify any outstanding issues. So please monitor our website and social media feeds for updates. And also, before you head out, it's wise to check for the latest information. If you plan to visit a park or a trail managed by another jurisdiction, please also check their website and social media feeds so that you have the latest information before you get there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Whitney. And I quickly want to add, we have the 301 trail that connects Dade City and Zephyr Hills. That's a very nice trail. And also over in the Wesley Chapel area, the new State Road 56 trail. I don't think we've given it a name yet, but that is a beautiful trail that goes along the new extension of State Road 56. And also, I read this morning that Swift Mud managed properties are open for hiking. So you can check on the Swift Mud site for those properties that are in our county where you can access. Okay, lastly, we have Adam Thomas, who's going to give us a very quick update on our tourism efforts here in the county.
Thank you, Commissioner Starkey, and thank you for the invitation of me being here representing the destination in Florida Sports Coast. I wish I had some great news, but I do have some positive news on the back end of this, that our forecast for 2020 at the national level through tourism economics, that we're seeing that the supply is down 15%. That's meaning that hotels are closing, lodging establishments are closing around the country, and we just had our first closure in Dade City with the Hampton Inn in Dade City. So we're starting to see that affect our jobs, our lodging establishments here. The demand is down across the country for lodging at 52%. Occupancy down across the country for the U.S. outlook is around 53%. And we can see that ADR and RevPAR is down as well. And what that means for Pasco County due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, we're seeing our events and our group meetings canceled or postponed. So currently for the month of March and into April and now into May, we've lost 8 events, which generates around 7,500 room nights. That provides around $200,000 in local tax generation, and really spurs around $5.5 million of business sales. During this loss, we're losing about $6 million of economic impact, which supports around 2,300 jobs for Pasco County residents. And what that truly means for Pasco County is that in 2019, tourism generated around $650 million of economic impact, while over 1 million visitors coming to Pasco County spent over $462 million. And at the end of the day, the tax savings for Pasco County residents in 2019 generated $310 per household for Pasco County residents. This number supports around 7,800 jobs for Pasco. So we're going to see as this pandemic continues to affect the residents of Pasco County, tourism is also being greatly affected as well. The bright side of this is that we are still booking events for 2021. The forecast from Tourism Economics for 2021 is going to be an all-time high for demand at 82%. We are going to see our occupancy climb 60%. We're going to see our climb to 5%, and again, our RevPAR climbing up to 65%. And those are forecasts for for 2021 lodging. So there is a brighter side to what is going on right now. We're seeing a lot of losses, but the future is bright for Pasco County, the tourism industry, and our hotel partners. Currently, we know that the stay-at-home order is in effect, but I would love to direct those that are staying home, that are not going out to eat. There is a takeout and delivery options page on our website, which you see here at floridasportscoast.com/takeout-delivery-options. And that has a list of all of our restaurants locally that are providing meals for takeout or delivery. Currently, we have stopped all of our marketing efforts, and we're using our social media to really highlight the destination, either on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We're doing live drone shots at some of the locations Renee mentioned. We're doing virtual tours for attractions to still keep that top of mind awareness open for our destination. And you can follow us online on social media at FL Sports Coast. And if you're out and about, if you're on our trails, if you're out in your boating, the 27 miles of coastline that surrounds Pasco, tag us. Take a picture on your social media, tag us, engage with us so we can reshare it. We'd love to hear from our residents that are still out and about and exploring the great natural resources that we call home. So we thank you so much for your leadership. We thank you to our partners who at our hotels that are partnering with Pasco County Emergency Management in providing lodging for medical professionals coming in from the CDC and the Florida Department of Health. And they're also providing space for non-symptomatic patients to free up hospital space at our local hospital. So we can't thank our hotel partners enough for providing those accommodations. We still have the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus still on pace for finalizing construction in July this year. So be looking for that to open up. So thank you very much for allowing us to be here.
Oh, Adam, thanks. That's sobering and exciting, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to get to questions really fast, and I'm going to throw the first one at Summer. Summer, tell us very quickly about part-time workers.
The CARES Act did provide the extended unemployment benefits for full and part-time employees. And again, that's whatever they're eligible for through the state of up to $250 per week, plus an additional $600 a week provided through pandemic unemployment insurance through the federal government. Thank you.
Okay, great. That was an important question. Kurt, you got two questions. One was about the kids in the car. Do you want to answer that one?
Kids in the car, I didn't see.
Oh, I texted that one too. So when you go to pick up food, you need, I believe, the children need to be in the car?
Yes, ma'am. The Florida Department of Agriculture has relaxed some of those rules, but it also requires some proof of identification of those kids, that the parents have to have a passport, birth certificate, that kind of stuff. What Pasco's decided to do is stay with the same procedure that we're using now, and that is you need to have the kids present. I just don't think that we want to put the parents to the hassle, I say hassle, of trying to find the students' birth certificates or other proof of who they belong to. And not only that, but we're feeding so many kids, we just want to make sure we get the meals in the hands of our kids. That said, what we've done is we changed our procedures. It's all been drive-through, but instead of putting things through windows, we will be asking the drivers to pop the trunks. We'll be putting the meals in the trunk and having no contact with the families at all. You want me to address that first? The second question was asked about why are principals, school administrators, custodial staff required to be physically in schools. They are not, as I said in my previous comments, is that when the executive order went into effect last night at midnight, yesterday I ordered all schools to be closed and that principals would work from home. That is why I'm asking parents if they need devices, if they have school-related business that needs to be conducted, they need to call the school number. My hope is, and I believe that's the case, is that number has been forwarded to a school official, principal, or administrator. They will make arrangements to get the device to the kids on a Tuesday. We've set some time aside on Tuesdays that schools will be able to transact that business. Because we do know that parents are still finding out that we have devices available, and we're trying to minimize the amount of impact that we have on our staff. The last part of the question was about reducing the cost for lighting and air conditioning. Absolutely, we did that yesterday. When schools are not in session, we've reduced the hours. Certainly the lights are not on, but the air conditioning is being reduced. We keep some air conditioning on just because we live in Florida and don't want to have our assets become moldy and mildewed. So I hope that's answered the question.
Awesome. Kathy, I got a question on animal services.
Sure, let me give you an update on animal services. So yes, they are up and running. limited staff. We have had to ask all our volunteers, our hundreds of volunteers, and we're so sad about that, just because of the social distancing. But our shelters are clearing up. I think the last count, and we were under 60 animals, so it's a great time to adopt an animal. You got lots of time to be at home to bond with that animal, so thank you for those that have done that. We are asking, they're working on an online system right now for appointments, so we can limit the number of people, but if you do come in, we will more than be welcome to you. So we are open, and thank you all.
Okay, I did want to mention that we do have a 45-day moratorium on evictions and foreclosures in the county. And then I have a question for Shara and a question for Whitney. Whitney, I have a question on U-Picks in the county. I know we have blueberry, it's blueberry season. I think we have peaches. People are asking if
Yes,
U-Picks
ma'am.
will be open.
Yes, ma'am. U-Picks are open. That's some of the good news. COVID-19 is not known to be a foodborne illness at this time, but there are some best practices for those U-Pick owners. Employees should be using gloves when handling money. We're asking that they try to limit the transfer of cash, using hand sanitizer, keeping their surfaces clean. We're asking that they communicate very closely with customers so that anybody that's exhibiting symptoms, feeling sick, we're asking those U-Pick owners to display on social media signs, flyers to ask those folks not to come. But they're communicating with employees also not to come if they are exposed or having symptoms. The farm should be using hand washing stations, hand sanitizers should be available to guests so that when they're coming onto the property and when they're leaving the property, they are sanitizing their hands, using gloves, disinfecting surfaces, bins, buckets, railings, doorknobs, and certainly practicing social distancing, at least 6 feet, but also trying to limit the amount of people that are on site at any given time to 10 or under. But it's a great time to get out with the family, actually, get outside and also be supporting local businesses. So U-Picks are open for business.
Thank you. And Danny, I don't have the exact question on the private horse facilities. What is the question on that one for Shara? We got a question if people could still go to their private horse barns, I think, for lessons. Is that correct?
So there are many private horse stables in Pasco County, if you want to read that into the mic.
There are many private horse stations and horse stables in Pasco County?
Can other than the barn staff, those who clean stalls, feed, and turn horses in and out, come to these places for riding lessons, volunteering, grooming, etc.?
Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah, this is a kind of gray area. The one thing specifically to note is that under the Department of Homeland Security and even with the governor's newly issued stay-at-home order, that all ag industries are deemed essential. The piece with the horse grooming and the stables, yes, as stated, you can have your workers come in for feed, cleaning stalls, turning horses, etc. The component that's going to be kind of a case by case is the portion of the riding lessons. As you know, the governor stated that you'd still be able to do your exercises, where some people say that their riding lessons are parts of their exercises. You'll be able to do it, but still keeping within the social distancing and the CDC guidelines of health. In terms of volunteering and grooming, the grooming can work as long as it's to the betterment and stability and health of the animals. The volunteering, almost similar to what Ms. Kathy Pearson stated, in terms of the volunteers being able to come in and out, that would be on the social distancing part.
Okay, someone's getting a phone call. Adam, I've got a question for you, actually. On some of our tourism sites, for example, tree hoppers, and our folks who rent kayaks and canoes, are they allowed to do, is that open, and are they allowed to rent kayaks and canoes at this time?
Those businesses are still open, yes, ma'am. I would have to check tree hoppers, but I do know Wendy Longman with Windsong Charters are still renting kayaks, canoes, and boat rentals.
And I'm sure they're following the CDC guidelines for sanitizing them.
Commissioner, can I chime in on the tree hoppers?
Yes.
Unfortunately for that, it is claimed agritourism, and so that necessarily will not be opened.
Okay, well, there's our
That's
answer on that one. Okay, and some of us got a scare yesterday. A fake news piece is going around saying that the FWC closed boating, but that is fake, okay? That gave a lot of people heart attacks. That is not true news.
Also, there was a fake news going around that because of technical issues, that distance learning have been shut down. That is fake news. Our kids are still learning. Don't believe anything you read, almost anything. Some of these things, if it seems not to be true, can't be true, then it probably isn't. You need to verify it. But at this point, distance learning is taking place in Pasco schools.
Wonderful. Okay, so I've been asked to remind you, a great place to get information from the county is the avenues you have through social media. We have a My Pasco app. We have a Twitter, which I don't remember what that is.
The Twitter is at Pasco County PIO.
At Pasco County PIO is our Twitter feed. Again, you can email me. We push out a newsletter every day, and filled with all kinds of information. You can go to the county website, sign up for Notify Me, get on our Twitter feed, and again, we will have all the information from today available for anyone who wants to get it. Just email us. If there are more questions, we'll get those out to the parties who participated, and they will respond. And we hope you stay safe, stay healthy, and we will get through this. It's certainly a challenging time for all of us, but there will be an end to it, and we'll be able to get back out and enjoy our beautiful county as we used to. So thank you to everybody. Again, this is on YouTube and Facebook, and you can share it with your friends, with the people in your community to get this important information out. So thank you very much.